First term, closed captioning. I'm pretty sure most of us know what this is, but a brief recap is that closed captioning is an in-video textual transcription of the audio for videos and visual displays that includes dialogue, sound effects, music descriptions, and other auditory. Captioning and open captioning is that closed captions can be turned on and off, whereas open captions are burned into the video and cannot be changed or removed. Closed captions are different from subtitles because subtitles are the term we use to describe language translations. If you are watching a movie made in French and you are an English speaker only, then you are using subtitles to access that movie because it is translating the French only and it is not including any of the other auditory information such as the sound effects and the music, lyrics, and such. Why do we need closed captioning? For deaf and hard of hearing audiences, it's incredibly important. They can't access your audio content any other way. They don't have hearing capabilities or strong hearing capabilities, and so they can only know what you're saying if you provide them the words written down. But you might be surprised to learn that closed captions are also really important for people with audio processing differences, like autistic audiences, people with learning disabilities, and attention deficits. Also, closed captions are one of the most important ones because there are a lot of able-bodied users out there who need or prefer to watch with the sound off. If you've ever scrolled through your Instagram stories with your sound off and been like, I can't turn my sound on right now, so I'm just going to skip past this story, that's potentially a missed business opportunity for you if you don't caption your content, because someone might have skipped right by thinking, I can't listen to this right now, so oh well, guess I'll miss it. Another reason that closed captioning can be really valuable is that the audio might be difficult to understand, whether the audio is poor quality, it's in a non-English language, a foreign language, or your speakers, plural or singular, their accents or speech patterns make it hard to tell what is being said. So captioning your audio is how you make sure that the information being conveyed can be understood. How do we make closed captions? Closed captions aren't actually too hard to include. One of the easiest ways is to use YouTube's auto caption feature. So any YouTube video can be auto captioned as long as you select the language that it's in when you are uploading your video. You can also edit and download that caption file. So you can even use the YouTube auto caption feature to get you started with your captions, and then you can edit those captions in an outside video editor and just clean them up and make them nicer and have like already gotten half the work done by taking advantage of the auto caption feature. Similarly, Facebook has an auto caption feature. It's a little less easy to edit and download, but it will make sure to auto caption your videos for you, or you can use a video editor from the get-go and do your captions from the ground up. That might look like iMovie, Final Cut Pro, Adobe Premiere, DaVinci Resolve. All of these video editors can be used to make closed captions for your videos. The most common file type is SRT. It's not always the default file type when you go to export, so just keep that in mind. SRT is usually the best file type to use, especially for platforms like Facebook, which only accept SRT files. They also might have some naming convention rules. Facebook's in particular wants you to identify the language for them by putting, as I put in my example, it says name.en_US to convey that the language is English, United States English, not another form of English, such as the United Kingdom. So being mindful that you are following those naming conventions, you can upload caption files to YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. For Instagram, there are not currently any ways to upload your caption files, but there is a caption sticker. So you've probably seen this in your Instagram usage if you're an Instagram user, that they'll be on stories all the time. They often look like big, blocky capital letters if people use the default font, though there are usually font choices. You can also put captions on Reels. External captioning apps are another option if none of these methods feel right to you. I cannot speak for any of these apps as I am using a video editor or the social media platforms myself. But for your reference later, these names will be sent out if you'd like to give them a try. How to close caption. Now some best practice tips. Identify when a new speaker starts talking. So the person who is looking at your captions cannot tell when voice changes, when the voice timbre changes, when it becomes a different person. So you want to indicate that by either putting their name, as I put in brackets over here, Or you can put just a little dash just to indicate that the person who's talking now is not the same as the person who's previously talking. Just putting a dash before any time a sentence starts where the speaker has changed. Most professional captioners will omit things like ums, likes, false starts where you start to say something and you correct yourself, as I've already done many times tonight. So a professional captioner will leave those things out to clarify the audio and just make it straight to the point of the information, what's being conveyed. But you might find that some people prefer to be exact and try and give the most accurate transcription possible. Either practice is valid, just letting you know. Remember to describe contextually important sounds. For instance, if a door were to slam right now off screen and I suddenly whipped my head around and went, a non-hearing audience or someone who does not have their audio on would not know unless we captioned that a door slammed from off screen. And that is the reason why I am turning my head and seeing what's going on. So things like sound effects, music that's relevant to the visual information, anything that your user needs to know in order to understand what's happening, you should try and describe in your captions. When you're using an auto caption service, they do their best, but they are often riddled with mistakes. So if you are perhaps using the auto caption feature, or you're hiring a professional captioner and then proofing their work, research and double check spelling. I have worked for CalArts for a hot minute now, my alma mater, and sometimes I have been asked to proofread captions delivered to us by professional captioners, since we are required for accessibility law reasons to have captions on all of our video content that we put out. And I have found that many times professional captioners do not know the word CalArts. They will be confused when they hear it, and so they will transcribe it incorrectly. I've gotten Carl Arts, CalR. It gets very interesting. So double check your spelling, make sure that everything has been spelled correctly. The captioners don't know that my colleague Carolyn's name is spelled with a K instead of a C, so something like that might also be relevant. Just double check. A note about open captions. You can choose to burn in your text if you are using a video editor to create your captions. Burning in will make the captions be a permanent part of the visual, and they will not be, you cannot turn them off, they will be unremovable. So you can use open captions to keep the text there permanently. You can also use another approach to put text in the video that is not captions, but that achieves the same effect as captions, such as lyric videos. I'm sure you all have watched lyric videos on YouTube where it provides the lyrics for you in an aesthetically pleasing way. That is another way that you can put text on your videos, is by using text boxes and other aspects of a video editing software to have the words come up in a more interesting way. Lastly, if you are working with lyrics or music, you can use this little eighth note symbol over here. You want to put that on either side of lyrics when you are having lyrics in your captions to indicate that that is being sung, and you should use a single eighth note, or I guess you could use 3 if you want, but single is usually common standard to indicate that there's instrumental music playing. Now here are some examples of captions in practice. This is the back end of YouTube's caption editor. So as you can see, the captions are over here on the left that YouTube auto-generated here, and then just to the right of it are the timestamps of where each caption block will start and end. At the bottom, you get a horizontal view so that you can sort of scroll through your waveform and make sure everything's lining up properly, and you can also see the visual reference for the video in this final box to the upper right. YouTube did not do the best job of auto-captioning this one, but thankfully this is a lyric video, so that is why the visual has, as I mentioned before, you put the text in an aesthetically pleasing and interesting way, and you can edit these. You would also be able to download these captions made by YouTube if you were to go back to your draft window and toggle between auto captions and uploading captions. Here's what it looks like when you are in the YouTube user view. So this says English auto-generated. You've probably seen that if you've ever used captions as a YouTube viewer or user, and that means quite exactly like it sounds like, that YouTube auto-generated those captions and that they have not been changed by the person who uploaded it. if I had decided to put captions on this video, even though it's a lyric video and the point of it is to have the words on the screen, if I had put captions on it, it would say English, United States, because when I go to the language selector, I would have selected United States English. So it would have said English and then United States here in parentheses in that same place. This is the back end of Facebook. When you're uploading a video to Facebook, there will be an option for like accessibility and captions, and this is where that will bring you when you click on it. Facebook actually by default will auto-generate your captions for you, and you have to turn it off and manually stop it if you want to upload captions of your own, because Facebook is just raring to go, ready to give you some captions. So if you want to use auto-generated captions, those are already turned on for you by default by Facebook, unless you've turned them off already, or you can go down here and upload your SRT file. As I said before, you will need to make sure the file name convention works with Facebook's requirements, but once you have uploaded them, they will have that little checkbox, hooray, everything worked, and you can save, and that's pretty straightforward. This is Instagram. Instagram, as I said, does not allow you to upload your captions via file. So this is what it looks like when you burn captions in from your video editor. Whenever I put social media content that is the same on Facebook and Instagram, I will always export twice. I will do one with captions burned in and one without. And the one burned in will go for Instagram, so that way I make sure that there's captions on this video, since I can't guarantee that Instagram will be displaying them. Users of Instagram are able to turn captions on in their backend. If you go to your account settings, then captions, then you can toggle it on here. It is actually turned off by default, but this is how an Instagram viewer or user will be able to have auto-generated captions turned on for all the videos on the platform that they interact with. But if they have not turned that on, there's no guarantee that they'll be seeing captions for your content. So that's why it's good for you to know how to burn in your captions if you are not using a story or a reel where there is a sticker option. And then lastly, this is what it looks like inside a video editor. This is Final Cut Pro, which is Apple's released software for video editing and what I use personally. As you can see, there are little purple blocks up here. This was sung so that I have the music note on either side of these lyrics. And at the beginning, the single music note, because there was just a little bit of instrumental at the top. And that's what it looks like when you're captioning from inside the platform. This is what it looked like for me to build the lyric video. As you can see, it was a far more complicated process, and that's a more elaborate job to take on. But if you were feeling inclined to make a lyric video, it'd look a little something like this, where you've got a lot of overlapping text boxes that you've created. I've had them queued to come in at separate times so that they come when the phrase starts. And that's the behind the scenes of making a lyric video. I'm going to do my best to navigate to a new window now to explain some other examples. Hopefully Zoom doesn't throw a fit when I do so. So first, I want to show you what it looks like, the Instagram sticker that I talked about that does captions for you. I'm going to take you to a reel of mine over here. Does everyone see this okay? I'm not seeing or hearing anything. Awesome. So right now I have the sound turned off, which is perhaps to the point. This is what it looks like for a person who cannot hear the audio. So they are getting this caption appearance. It's not usually like right on when it comes to timing the words, but this is a really, really great resource and very easy to add to all of your Instagram content that is either in reel or story format to just make sure that people can access it with the sound off. So yeah, that's what it looks like on that end. Another thing I wanted to talk about is practices for captioning sound effects. So this tab is opening to my voiceover reel, which I'll also turn the sound off of. So as you watch these captions, as I always leave captions on YouTube, I put in brackets all of these different sound effects because this is my voiceover reel and the sound effects contextualize the work that I'm doing as a voice actor. So you're seeing like crowded mall sounds, texting sounds, crowded hallway sounds. All of these things are providing context for what the audio sounds like under my voice and helping create a larger picture of the scene. And then here's an example of doing something kind of akin to the lyric video where you use something a little bit of a step above the caption process. So here, McDonald's has taken the captions and put them in their branding palette. They're using McDonald's yellow and black, and also a McDonald's font. So this feels like a McDonald's video, but it's also accessible because you can tell from these captions what's happening and that it's McDonald's content. So that's a way that you can make your video accessible while also maintaining a brand if that's something that you're thinking about. On to transcripts. Transcripts are an adjacent concept. They are a text version of dialogue and or non-spoken audio information from a video and or audio recording. So they're kind of like captions, except that instead of appearing in sync with the video, they're all written down in one place as like a single document. They might also include text descriptions of visual information needed to understand the content. So if you needed to know that I'm in a car, and that informs why there are car background sounds, there might be some type of information like that. Transcripts are especially useful for audio-only content, such as podcasts, whether that's like an audio drama or a talk show podcast. And transcripts are different from live captioning. Live captioning is like when you are watching the news and you see that there's a slight delay in the captions. That's because there's a real person watching the live news with you and transcribing it as it comes. That is not the same thing as a transcript, just making that distinction for you. Why do we need transcripts? Again, deaf and hard of hearing audiences really need them. Platforms like Clubhouse and Twitter Spaces, which are entirely audio-based spaces, you go into that space, there's no visual element, you are just listening to other people in real time. They were completely inaccessible to deaf and hard of hearing audiences before they added their live auto transcription features. And hey, if you didn't know, Clubhouse and Twitter Spaces have live auto transcription features that you can use. And I know for sure that Twitter Spaces will allow you to save that auto transcript for a period of time after the conversation is over. But since those spaces aren't recorded audio-wise, how else would you maintain a record of that? So really good for record keeping. Also, again, autistic audiences with audio processing differences, learning disabilities, attention deficits, all of these audiences benefit by having a way to visually reference. And if you've got a document with all the text that was covered in audio, you've got a searchable, time-efficient alternative engagement method. What if you need to know how many times a name was said or something was referred to? What if you need to make sure that something was covered? Now you can use Command F to go through your transcript and check that out. So it's actually really good for you post the event to look at, as well as for your audiences. And it is a time-saving alternative to syncing captions to video if for some reason you're finding that you don't have the capacity to caption your videos by hand, but you'd like to be accessible. This is one way that you can provide accessibility if you were working off of a script and you've got the script ready and you're like, I just want to release the script. You just tweak the formatting a little bit and then that's already made your content more accessible. And it was less work than trying to time every caption exactly right. How do we do transcripts? There are three main methods of approaching transcription. Full verbatim is number one. That is word for word, exactly what you hear, including the mistakes, the ums, the background sounds and things that weren't on purpose, everything. Then you have clean verbatim, which is fairly similar, largely word for word, but it cleans up some of the gobbledygook. You get rid of the ums, the mistakes, the likes, the non-verbal sounds. It does not paraphrase or change the order of the words, but it gets rid of some of the excess information, so you're just getting straight to the point. Then you have detailed notes, which gets much more into paraphrasing and omitting so that it just says the most polished version of what you were trying to say. Yeah. Those three versions. Once you are transcribing, your first step is to just listen through once. Then you do a draft. If you're using an auto caption feature or a script to help you along, that can be draft number one. Then you edit. And lastly, you format. If you're using a script, you do need to modify the formatting to address the needs of a transcript. I'll show you what that looks like here. So this is an audio drama that I was in as a voice actor called Hand in Glove. This is the tweet where they announced that episode 2 came out. So here's a transcript of the episode linked in one of their replies. They made a thread and they made sure to reply with the various links, including the link to the transcript. They also let us know that the transcript is linked on their website and in the show notes. And that's the most accessible thing to do, is to link that transcript in as many places as possible, so it's very easy to find. To the right is a small screenshot of part of that transcript. As you can see, they've got a warning at the top. Any type of content warning or disclaimer that needs to go in can go right there at the beginning. And then there is the timestamp. So you can see that the timestamp is included for when each new sound starts. The show announcer began speaking at the first second, and then a song began playing 10 seconds in. And so you see, going through these timestamps, that tells us when the sounds start.